Alright, so here's another comic review for you guys. Now, on my Patreon, I did a Darth Vader review, a Darth Vader comic review of Star Wars Target Vader. Which, again, go check that out on my Patreon. But this time around, we're going to be talking about Darth Vader from Greg Pak. This is from the second volume of the third Darth Vader ongoing ongoing series from Marvel Star Wars. This was by Greg Pak. And this series, of course, it takes place in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. Essentially, I did a review. Now, the reason why I did this one, I was actually deciding on whether or not I should put this on my Patreon. But I was like, well, I put the first volume review on here, so I was like, I'll just do it here. And I've done reviews for all the main Darth Vader ongoings. I've literally been collecting all of them. So in here, Darth Vader. To recap, because it's been over a year since I did the last volume review. To recap, Darth Vader had basically, after losing Luke after the battle of Bespin, after his fight in Bespin, Vader went out to seek answers of how he missed his son. Along the way, he encountered Padme's handmaiden, her body double, and shenanigans ensued that basically. He went back to the Emperor empty-handed, and the Emperor found out that, oh, you were basically committing an act of treason by working with Padme's body double. And we come to this, because the Emperor, of course, wants to teach Vader a lesson. He wants to reteach him everything. And how does he do that? He basically beats the shit out of him and throws him to Mustafar and leaves him with a trial for Vader to overcome, and Vader cannot use the Force. All he has is his wits and his lightsaber. And yeah, what I like about this comic is that Vader is literally put through the ringer, and this is a very action-oriented comic. This is a very, even the first volume, I will admit, I was like, it's alright. It felt like it felt a little weird that we were doing a lot of prequel stuff so far into the original trilogy, like going back to all of that. And it was so weird to do that. It felt so weird, and the action just kind of felt off, and it felt a little too rushed. Here, in this comic, this is where I feel like this series really picks up. This is where Greg Pak, who is a very talented, action-oriented writer, really shines. Because here, Vader is back on Mustafar, and what I like is that even though we do... Well, it's weird because this comic came out... this comic was clearly a few months... or less than a year after Rise of Skywalker. And this this is not only, it goes back to a lot of stuff from Revenge of the Sith, but it also goes to Rise of Skywalker. And if you guys know, Rise of Skywalker is not my favorite Star Wars movie. And one of the trials Vader has to go through is take on a Sith assassin of Ochi of Bestoon. Remember, that useless dickbag who murdered Rey's parents? Yeah, that was the thing. He's a Sith assassin in here, and admittedly, Ochi is literally, you don't care about him, but his fight with Vader is awesome, especially, like I said, everyone counts out, oh, Vader can just use the Force. He can't, the Emperor said, if you use the Force, I will end you. And Vader has to work on his wits. This is where we get to see, and this is what I really love about these comics, we saw this in Karen Gillan's run, and we see it here, is that everyone forgets that Vader is, he knows his way around machines. So, here, after Vader gets his ass kicked by the Emperor, he takes a bunch of droids and starts pulling his body back together, like a machinist would. And I really like that. I really do like that, that we really get to see Vader's, ingenuity and intelligence really shine through. What's also interesting is that there's this moment where Vader is basically attacked by the Emperor's guards in Masamita, and he's just force choking all three of them, and then suddenly the Emperor chokes him, and he's like, "How's it feel to be on the receiving end of that?" And we get this really cool splash page of everyone we've seen in the movies force choked by Vader as Palpatine is choking Vader. And he's just basically like, oh, it's not fun on the receiving end, is it? You know. It was really, I really like this. It's very action-oriented. It's very fast-paced. And again, I think like there's also some weird stuff in here, like Vader encountering Webbish Bog, who is obviously a throwaway character to the to the original quote unquote master of Palpatine in Colin Trevorrow's not made Star Wars movie. So yeah, let me show you a quick image of Webbish Bog, and I can't remember what he was supposed to be called in the movie, in the Duel of the Fates movie, but yeah, there he is. There's old Boggy, right there. I really like that it's really dealing with Vader, who is on the ropes, and he even like goes, "I'm gonna go all out," because Ochi accidentally leaks that Palpatine is planning something like a fallback that he never told Vader. So Vader, of course, finds out that it is on Exegol. It is the Final Order, and we do see that Palpatine has Luke's hand. So maybe we may get an in-canon version of Luke, the like the Bizarro clone of Luke Skywalker from Heir to the Empire. That actually might be what they're building to, is an in-canon version of that failed Luke clone in here. So there is the possibility of that. What I really like is, again, like Vader's ingenuity. Like Pac really shows like Vader's ingenuity, his intellect, and even though he's without the Force, Vader is still like an intelligent being. He's not just brute forcing his way through everything. He's got to think smart. He's got to think on his feet. I really like that about this comic. Like I said, Volume 1 was a very, like, it was just okay for me. It was just a very okay comic. But this, as I read Into the Fire, I was like, wow, I really like where this is going now. I feel like this is where, and again, even though I wasn't a fan of the Rise of Skywalker stuff they put in here, I don't know if that was like Pac's idea, or if corporate was like, if Marvel, the corporate side of Marvel was like, put Rise of Skywalker stuff in there, put it in there, put it in there, do it, Pac. Like they were nudging him with his stick to put stuff in there. It's like, fuck, whatever, I'll put it in there and try to make it a thing. Because it just feels like it comes out of left field, really. Like, when we go to... There is a cool-ass fight of Vader taking on all the, like, acolytes. That's a really cool scene of Vader fighting his way through the acolytes, all God of War style. And they're, like... The artist, Raphael Insenko, I completely butchered that name, knows how to draw... like some cool-ass monsters, like some real Lovecraftian shit. Check that out. Yeah. So do I recommend this? Yeah, absolutely. I would say that this does kind of play off of the first volume, so probably read that first. But yeah, this continues to be Greg Pak's... I feel like this is the stride Greg Pak wanted to do with all of the Vader comics. Even though, yeah, it does deal with Rise of Skywalker stuff, but it's done in a way that it's like, okay, still don't like the movie, but like maybe this opens the door to some cool stuff in the comics. Because if we can have, you know, if we can have Dirge back, the name got away from me. Yeah, if we can get Dirge back in the comics, we can probably get the failed Luke clone. Maybe Mara Jade? Maybe? Anyway, so you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of Darth Vader Into the Fire? Did you guys like it, hate it? Just comment below, let me know. And once again, I have a Patreon. If you guys want to have a Patreon request video, just hit the link below and check out that tier. And, you know, become a Patreon on that tier, and I'll do videos for you guys when I have the chance. But, other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.